Hi everyone. For the second part of this tutorial, we're going to make an animated GIF using some Photoshop cutouts. So open Photoshop and go to Create New, and then you can go up to Art and Illustration and click on the 2000 pixel grid, and then change the resolution to 72 and put your last name and your first name, and then week 2, and RGB color white. That's good for all the rest of the settings, and then hit create. Okay, so now you should have this already open down here in the window panel from the last part of the tutorial. And now go to File, Open, and open up the face image from the assets and double click, hit OK. And I'm gonna drag this out, and I'm just gonna bring in this whole image here and resize it so that it fills your square. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then hit enter. And if you don't have the automated boxes on the edges, if they don't show up right away, you have to click on the show transform control. So if that's not there, that's where that is. Okay, so now I'm going to cut out this face, and I'm not actually cutting it. I just want to use this as a guide for drawing a face. So I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool. Last time we used the magnetic lasso tool last week. If you have the magnetic lasso tool here, just click and hold, and then grab the polygonal lasso tool. And with this tool, you just click at different points to draw a selection. And I'm going to do this pretty fast. I don't really need to make a detailed face here. I'm just using it as a guide. I could probably draw this without the guide, but this is just easier, I think. And then you get back to where you started. That little circle will pop up, and as long as that little circle pops up, you can click and it will make a selection. And then I'm going to add a new layer. So the button down here adds a new layer. And I'm going to select this pink color, switch that so the pink's on top, and get my paint bucket. Make sure you're on the new layer, and then I will click to fill that. And now I'll deselect, and I can get rid of this face layer because I was just using it as a guide to draw. And you can do that with anything, any kind of shape. So I'm going to delete that layer. I'm just right clicking and hitting delete, or you can hit delete. Okay, and I'm also going to select this back layer. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to click on, and while I hold command, this square right here. So you can see when I hold command and I'm on this little square pops up. And if I click, it lets me select that same selection. And now if I click on the layer below it, and I take this away, so I now have the same pixel selected, but on this layer. And I can go up to layer and layer mask, and then reveal selection. So I just want that face layer there. And now I am going to add another layer. And I'm going to do the same thing, hold command, and I'm going to select the face so that I have that outline selected, but on my new layer, I'm going to get a new color. So I'm going to get this blue color and my paint bucket. And with the layer selected, I will select, fill in with the blue and now deselect. So I have a blue layer and a pink layer and a white layer. Now go to File, Open, and get this digital texture. And double click, hit OK. And I'm going to zoom in and grab my rectangular marquee. And I'm just going to get a section of this because I'm just kind of looking for a weird texture. And then I will select the inverse and delete, and Command D to deselect, take my move tool and drag this selection in. So now I'm going to turn this and make it the size of this face outline. And I did that because I wanted it to look kind of pixelated and not high resolution. So I did that on purpose, just took a portion of that image. Oops, I didn't hit enter. So you have to hit enter when you use the transform tool. I'm going to do that, hit enter. Now it will stay there and I'll close this one out. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to hover over the selection, and now I can use either of these. Hit Command and select, so I have that outline. But with this layer selected, I'll now go to Layer, Layer Mask, and Reveal Selection. So it only shows that selection. Okay, so now I'm going to change, I'm going to put this in between these two. And I'm going to change this layer style to, here, I'm going to take away this with the eyeball. I'm going to change it to, let's see, vivid light. So I have this kind of weird texture face. And then I'm going to do this layer and I'll change this to something else. I'm going to keep it at hard mix for now. So let's do that. I'll kind of move it over. And then I'm going to take this layer. Let's see it without the white. Will that change? No, it doesn't really change anything. Okay, I'm going to take this layer and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to right click and hit duplicate. And I'm going to call it top. Okay, I'm going to put this on the top and let's take away that. And let's change it to, let's just put it to normal for a minute. I'm going to move it over a tiny bit. And I'm going to add a filter. Let's see, I'm going to add some noise and I'm going to pixelate it and use the mosaic option. So I'll do something around that size and hit OK. And then change it to something like exclusion. Actually, let's see if this one is here. I think I want. This one as, well, it doesn't really matter here. Oh, there it is. Okay, I had the blue one. So this can be linear light, different. I'm gonna keep it at exclusion to begin with. I'll move this over here. So this is not the top, this is the middle. And this is the top. Okay, so there we go. Okay, hard mix. So I'm just playing around. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm just playing with these layer styles to get my first frame where I want it to be. So if you didn't get that, I was kind of changing them around. I have the top one as exclusion. The second one is hard mix. The third one as hard mix. And then the bottom two as normal. Okay, so now I'm just going to animate my frames by changing the layer styles. Instead of drawing the way that I did in the last one, I'll make my animated GIF with this sort of movement between these layer styles. So I'm going to create frame animation. It's going to give me my first frame. And then when I hit Command M, which I've already created as a shortcut, it's going to make a frame 2. And I'm going to click back on middle and then make a change. So I'll go to pin light and then do Command M and then go back to middle. And I'm going to change it to difference. And then Command M, go back to middle, and I'll change it to divide. And then Command M, go back to middle, and I'll change it to linear dodge. And now I'll play this. And I have just this sort of animated pixels that are changing, but all I did was each time I made a change to the middle one, I then created a new frame. So that looks good. And the more frames that I add, it gets trickier and might start to look a little slower depending on what you're doing. If you move things, it's going to start doing some weird things. So I'm just trying to get this sort of like pixelated animation between these different things to make it look like these pixels are changing colors and moving around. And they kind of look like they are moving around just because of changing the color. So now I'll stop that. And I could do this with all kinds of things. I just did a simple face outline. I could do things like the things that we cut out last week. I could do all kinds of different cutouts here, but I'm just going to go to File, Export, and Save for Web Legacy. So it saves as a GIF, all my frames. It's going to take a second, I guess, for saving for the web. We'll wait a couple seconds. Just going to pause and wait for this. Okay, so I saved it to my desktop. I don't know why this thing is stuck here, this thing that says progress, but won't let me close. But here it is on my desktop. If I hit the space bar, Now there is my animated GIF using different layers and layer styles. And the reason that, okay, let's kind of force quit you. Quit Photoshop. Sorry, let me pause this video one more time. Okay, force quit my Photoshop. It got stuck for some reason. But so the reason we're doing this is because we're preparing our assets for next week, which we will take our animated face GIFs and begin our Snapchat filter. So there it is on my face. So that is what we're going to ultimately do for our first Snap Lens tutorial next week. So follow along, do the steps of the GIF. You don't have to have a lot of frames. Export it as a GIF and then upload it for your assignment. And I will see you soon. Good luck.